My name is Petra Sundström. I'm a former data student at KDH, D96, if I have any classmates around, former ones. Since then, I've been a researcher at the Mobile Life Center, what is now the RISE Institute, former Swedish Institute of Computer Science, together with Joachim. Then I was at Microsoft Research in Cambridge, UK for a while. And I've also done some computer gaming in Salzburg, Austria, making it safe to sit still in a car driving around. I'm some kind of innovation IoT specialist, and these days I work at Husqvarna Group. What I will talk of today is, of course, IoT, but also what we at Husqvarna Group are doing and where we are currently. A little bit of wickedness and design thinking, why that is so important to communicate to a 328-year-old company, having perhaps a more traditional organization, governance, and so forth. Some of innovation and organization around innovation, why that is a little bit tricky as well. But to begin with, what is Husqvarna Group today? You know, Husqvarna Group for us Swedes, it's been weapons we've been hearing about when we weren't born. There are the motorbikes currently developed in Austria. It's a licensed brand to another company. It has also been associated with Electrolux, doing a lot of kitchenware. There as well, the brand is licensed to Electrolux for their premium kitchen series. And these days, Husqvarna Group is power products. It's outdoor power products. We're organized in 4 divisions. We have the Husqvarna brand, our premium brand, the orange products. Foremost, a professional brand where we sell to forestry with the sort of the product of the chainsaw, which might be one of our significant products. And then we sell to what is called commercial lawn and gardening, which is a big profession, a huge profession in the US foremost. Take a customer such as Mr. Asplund. He has 150,000 chainsaws. He has 50,000 employees being arborists, taking care of the green spaces in a city. But also in the Husqvarna division, we have the robotic lawn mower, which is in Scandinavia these days and in the German-speaking countries, reaching into mass market, leaving sort of the early adopters and being perhaps our coming premium product when the chainsaw goes more into the background, perhaps. Then we have the turquoise products in the Gardena brand. I don't know if any one of you have a garden, but die Kupplung is a significant product in the Gardena brand. It's a lot about watering and also about robotic movers. Then we have construction, where we have the power cutter as the significant product. It's a lot about making holes, cutting the edges of roads, and so forth. It's a lot about demolition. We actually have a demolition robot as well that can go into heat where no person can be, and sort of demolition stuff in there. And then we have the consumer brands out of Charlotte in the US, McCulloch, Weed Eater, Pull & Pro, and those consumer brands. In terms of IoT, we are actually on our way. We already have, since 2016, on the German market, our smart garden system. It started to sell actually this summer in Sweden as well. It's about sensors in the ground, detecting moist, heat, and light. and using that data to help you water in automatic ways. It helps you keep to a limited amount of water in your garden. Us gardeners that in former times put on sort of 30 minutes of watering each day, even though it was raining and the mördarsniglar, the snails that we don't want in our gardens, had sort of a blast eating everything. Everything was moist and lovely for them. Here we can help those gardeners having a bit more of optimized watering in their gardening. Not water too much, but water sufficient for the flowers you have planted. And associated with this gateway and these sensors, you have a robotic mower, you have batteries these days, you have a pump. So it's basically a medium-sized snowball for what could be a more fully fledged outdoor platform going ahead. In terms of the smart garden system, we of course have challenges. We are on a proprietary, quite expensive protocol today, the Lemonbeat protocol. And going IoT, you will see that a lot of industries go proprietary. They go closed up because it's the easiest. You have this discussion about the standardization, very few standards around, and you basically just need to connect your own products and sort of isolate yourself for a while from brands next to you. Because it's simply just hard to pick whatever protocol you should go for when you have so many around, such as the Zigbee, the Z-Wave, whatever. But there are standardization. There is new kinds of standardization coming that we need to relate to. Looking into the US market today, they have not started to sort of purchase our robot. They actually don't know that there are grass-cutting robots around. They are very tuned on the Roomba, but they are also very tuned today on the Amazon Alexa, the Echo, and the Google Home Assistant. The speaker hubs have been selling out on sort of Black Friday, and 17% of the American population today, that's 30 million Americans, have a speaker hub in their home today. Ericsson is also saying that, you know, voice will be the interface going ahead and very prominent during 2018. And these are, in a sense, standards for us. Amazon and the platform around the Amazon Echo being compatible with Amazon is standardization. So when we have been looking very strongly at technology, it might be that the sort of commercial platforms now are the platforms that we need to speak to. So we have standardization in slightly novel forms around us. We cannot think that we can build a market for our automover, our robotic movers in the US without being compatible with Amazon Echo and the Google Home Assistant. And now also we saw the Apple Pod finally arriving, even though it's slightly different from the other two. It will be very interesting to follow and see what market the Apple HomePod can build, given that it's not compatible with Spotify. However, it speaks more languages, because language is an issue here. The Amazon Echo and the Google Home, they only speak Swedish, English, French, and German. And that might be one of the reasons for why they're not in Sweden as of yet, which is a very forward-leaning technology country. But we are challenged. Swedish industry is challenged today by seeing the big five grow so strong in the US. And in former times, we've been sort of, as long as we are good as engineers, we can make it. But Swedish manufacturing industry need to understand that there are new players on the ground, so to say. So this picture shows what you actually can buy going into Best Buy, a very common store in the US today. such as Elgiganten, similar to Elgiganten. You have the Ring doorbell, a very common system where you have sensors on your door, and we even met a mother saying that she was so annoyed with her kids removing the Ring doorbell app from their phone because they had too little memory, because she really wanted them to look at the app. When someone was ringing on the door or knocking on the door, she wanted the kids to first look in their app to see who's there and then open. She was very afraid with them just opening the door. And the Ring doorbell has grown strong grounds in the US already. The Philips Hue, you probably heard about them. The Nest system. Basically, every system in this picture, apart from our products. So apart from everything you see down the bottom here, you can buy today at Best Buy. The rest of it is fake. The rest of it is actually what we call a design fiction in our organization, to talk to our sort of board, our management teams, what it will look like when we have sort of compatible products on the US market. This is a design fiction aiming for consumer market 2019, where we want to push the organization, showing what it could look like if our automover, for example, will start to talk. If you come with your bags, and when it's in the way of you, you can say, go park, you know, go away, Michael, or whatever you have named your robotic lawn mover as. So this is direction for the organization, this is challenge, and this is some of what we're working on. Another system we have is the fleet management system, and now we're back at Mr. Asplund, the arborist guy in the US having 50,000 employees, 150,000 chainsaws. He wants to know where those chainsaws are, how they're being used, when it's time to service them, plan for that service. He wants to bulk order spare parts potentially. He wants to track them down if they're lost. Basically, Mr. Asplund wants a management system with data from his 150,000 chainsaws. Then he also wants each operator, the 50,000 employees working for him, to have an app where they can get work orders and tick off when they have done their task for the day, etc., or leave pictures of problems they find and so forth. All this is possible by a retrofit sensor that we put on, to begin with, petrol products, where we sense the vibration and translate that vibration into uptime and how hard the product is being run. And from that we can tell Mr. Asplund that here you have someone going into red mode. Someone is pushing their chainsaw a bit too hard potentially. The green stuff is like, okay, run time. I'll show you a little film of this system to make it more understandable.
There's someone you should know. Someone who knows your workday better than most. Someone who recognizes your strengths and can tell where you could improve. Someone who sees when you struggle and when you should take a break. Someone who knows what it takes to be ready for work when you are. But someone who up until now has remained silent. This is about to change. Do you want a better future in the landscaping business? All you need to do is start listening.
So there you saw the sensor that we retrofit products with. And you could ask yourself, why are we retrofitting? You know, isn't it about going connected? Products should speak data, it should be embedded, it should be into each and every product, and of course it should be. We have 16,000 products though, and currently, you know, back to the technical part of standardization, LTE, like the SIM cards we have in our mobile phones, it costs around $20 in terms of hardware, the hardware module, to embed that module into each and every product. And that could be okay for a chainsaw where we are on around $300 per item, but it's hurting. Because everything about manufacturing is about cut down cost. You know, increase the price, but cut down cost. And when we're pushed on price, we will lose out on margins. So going embedded, going connected, of course, eat from the margins. And this is still something we need to do. We need to find sort of technology there we can have it in each and every product. There are now narrowband IoT, Cat-M, sort of cheaper versions coming up, but they're not really stabilized. They're not really global as of yet. So this is something we're looking on, something we're following very closely. In the meantime, it's about the retrofit sensor, but it's also a lot about Bluetooth. Having Bluetooth for around $1 in each and every product, and then sort of using the operator's mobile phone as the gateway. But basically, we are up for wickedness. Sort of products are to be connected, retrofitted, or embedded. They're going to be management platforms. They're going to be apps. They're going to be internal systems. They're going to be robots in our factories. There are commercial platforms that we need to relate to, such as the Amazon Alexa platform and Google Home, for example. And being a more traditional, we're a 328-year-old company. Those companies don't exist in the Silicon Valley and the digital era. But we've been surviving before, so you shouldn't be surprised if Husqvarna actually succeeds this time as well. But we are a silo organization. We have a very traditional organization, and so does many of the manufacturing industries have. So from now on, for each and every single little app we build, IT will have something to say, finance will have something to say, perhaps not staff, but management for sure, and marketing, sales, product management. Everyone in the company basically needs to be involved if we're building sort of one app talking to the robot, for example. Which means that we need to work in sort of more connected forms, and we need to work in parallel. Before, it's been like your product management orders something from R&D, R&D take over, they build it, and they go back to product management, we're done. You do some testing with customers, you hand it over to marketing who can market it, and then marketing hands over to sales who will sell it. That doesn't work anymore. Now we will have an app where we will sell spare parts, for example. So we're selling at the same time as we're sort of developing that app. You live in this world already, I'm sure, in terms of software. But when you have the slower moving hardware cycles combined with the faster moving software cycles, that is tricky business. So the 50 billion devices we've been hearing a lot about, there are challenges. We have the cars, yes, we have them. We have mobile phones, they are connected, sure. And we have the Jansi sensors and some smart living devices around the very sure, and Alexa and Google. But for the real Internet of Things to take place, you know, you've seen these movies that Telia, Ericsson show where a car is driving down the road, collecting data from lights and when it's slippery on the road and from shops nearby and bus stops and so forth. That is going to be a tricky challenge ahead of times. But it's interesting. It's greatly interesting to work in these hectic, all over times when everything is happening all at once. Basically, it's just about connecting our qualitative products. So our 16,000 products should be connected. We need to decide then, as I said before, what connectivity modules to be on. And first of all, it's about the hardware, then it's about the protocol. We need to talk sort of basically the same language on top of those transfer protocols, the hardware, whatever you want to call it. And then we need to have something to say. The products needs to have some sensors, basically for troubleshooting, real-time maintenance, and so forth. The product needs to say something about each and every part of itself, basically. You can cheat a little bit as well. You can do as we do with the retrofit sensors and look at time and do approximates for when things should be happening. Then we need to talk to any possible interface. We shouldn't build proprietary new interfaces. We need to understand that people have mobile phones. We need to be on the digital infrastructure already in the hands of our customers. But also we need to look at head-up displays and wearables and new kinds of interfaces. And we need to look at what competitors do, because we won't see a world where everything is Husqvarna. We need to understand that we have this glue, not just in our own organization and between our brands, we have this glue to other commercial platforms out there. But if we do this well, we can build services and products for a long time ahead. Having fat products with a lot of sensors and intelligence about themselves, we can build fantastic things. We also need to understand, though, how to cooperate with customers, because anything technically possible is basically not interesting for our customers. So we need to work in new ways as well. This is not about building the most efficient chainsaw. This is about sorting among the number of possibilities in strategic ways to make business. But also, foremost, we need some customers to want to buy what we're producing, basically. And to make it a little bit more challenging, we have other struggles. So it's about IoT and the digital revolution, big data, robotics. But for us, being a petrol company, we're world leading on petrol products today. We have only one competitor, that is steel. So us and steel, we're dominating the world. But now, what's happening on battery? You know, the Asian market with the Makita, the German market as well with the Bosch system is sort of overwhelming us. We need to understand battery at the same time as we're understanding IoT and digital. And you know, a little bit lucky, they go together a little bit. But we need to understand that there are two challenges. There are new production forms we need to pick up on. And then we have new customer groups, urbanization, and we need to look at what we can do in order to be sustainable. And it's not only us that struggle. This is a lot of text, so I cut it down a little bit. Basically, any industry today that wasn't born in the digital era, that is making money on something sort of invented before the digital era, need to squeeze out that industry, need to stand on its right leg and optimize the current business, because we're making money and we need to make money to take sort of the leap over to the left leg, where it initially will be a lot of cost. We need to build a backend that we don't have as of yet. We need to go connected on the 16,000 products that we're producing. Perhaps not all of them. Perhaps we need to cut down a little bit as well. But basically, it's about sort of optimizing your current business, squeezing out the money that you luckily already or still are doing, but at the same time, starting to step over on your left leg, where you initially have a lot of cost. And as I said, it's not only us that struggle, luckily. We have others to look at. One of the greatest examples around these days, actually, for how you step on your left leg without destroying your right leg too much, your current business, is actually Boliden. We should be very proud of this very forward-leaning company we have in Sweden. So what is Boliden doing? Boliden is world-leading in the mine industry today. Boliden is talking at every IoT conference. It's fascinating. And what is it they have done? Yeah, you can cut it down to they implemented Wi-Fi in the mine 11 years ago. They were lucky. They took an early bet on a technology they saw could help them get Spotify, not Spotify at that time, but Skype and IP telephony into the mine, where they could have sort of freeware instead of running on a lot of costly systems in the mine. What they're also doing is that they're inviting Ericsson, Volvo, FLIR that I visited yesterday, IR, infrared technologies, and other companies that want sort of a test bed. Ericsson want a test bed for 5G, of course. Volvo want a test bed for self-driving trucks. And Boliden invites them. Please come and do this R&D work of yours in our fantastic mine. It's great for Volvo, it's great for Ericsson, because the complicated circumstances in the mine helps them optimize their technology. So what is Boliden then doing, inviting companies like this? Boliden is saying, please come. We won't take any of your patent stuff, your IP, that you can keep for yourself. We won't pay for anything of what you're doing, but you can be here for free. We will do some marketing around that you're here, because we want more companies to come to the mine and work here. But what we want is basically to buy your products when you're done. But we don't want to buy them before anyone else buys them. We want to buy them at the same time as every competitor of us gets to buy them. And this could be silly business, but it's actually really, really smart. Because when new technology comes, there is a huge challenge in teaching your organization to work with these new technologies. Here, Boliden takes the opportunity to work with novel technology and train their staff for years before competition gets the same technology as they have. So when everyone is buying, they don't have any sort of Boliden specific maintenance system they need to run. They buy it at the same time as everyone else is buying it, and sort of will have that company then sort of pay for maintenance, the back end and development of that system. And actually it's so that you need to go to the board in Boliden to ask for anything Boliden specific. As long as it's sort of equal with every competitor, it's all fine. It's a very clever strategy to stand on your right leg, optimize your current business, and at the same time make sure that you build a left leg for the future. Get sort of novel technology for the cost of nothing, almost. It's actually very, very smart. I must say that Husqvarna has done some smart things as well. The CTO employing me in 2014 wanted me to lead a multidisciplinary team. So he was a CDO that understood that this development is not going to be about technology alone. It's going to be about collaboration, it's going to be about business, it's going to be about organization, it's going to involve product management, marketing, sales, IT, R&D. Everyone needs to be involved. We need to form an organization that can cater for that. So basically, he wanted to inject something that could help us go from silo to collaborative yet agile. And that is, you can challenge me on this one, but design thinking is what you need to take on as a more traditional organization today. You need to understand that a designer is taught not to look at the solution to a given problem, but look at potential problems to resolve and solutions for those, and compare between different opportunities and sort out a few that are showing really good numbers or strategic value. Design thinking is about the designer's methods and sensibilities to match people's needs with what is technically feasible and what a viable business strategy can convert into customer value and market opportunities. Because our problem is not ideas. Our problem is not sort of what could we do if products could speak data. We have thousands of ideas. I could say that one of our problem is a little bit that everyone just wants to build something digital these days. So we have sort of multi-harness belts. We have, could my tractor speak on my smartwatch and help me understand when the hill is leaning too much and I'm about to fall over? Could it help warn me? Communities and commercial platforms, track and trace, map view, and where I have been working and where I'm about to work. So we've been collecting these ideas internally, and this is intentionally small here, because I'm actually not allowed to show you these cards. In small text, I'm allowed to do it. But basically, each and every card, we have a deck of these ideas in our organization, and we have just sort of fulfilled a few of these ideas. On the back of each card, we have a little bit on the concept. We have a lot about sort of what patterns do we have in the direction of this idea, the business value it has, some of the customer value, what functionality it holds, what infrastructure it needs, what sensors it needs, how complex it is to resolve, and so forth. We've been handing these cards out to our 4 divisions, and one sort of achievement that we have made is that we have reached a prioritization. So we are today focusing on 3 solution products in our organization. We cannot sort of afford every intelligent engineer to run in every given direction. We need to collaborate and focus because the number of ideas and possibilities are overwhelming us. So we have the business-centric direction, which is basically fleet management and what else we could do in that direction, how we could extend that system into being compatible with the SAP platform, how we could look at job costing, how we could look at extreme technology helping you sense the workplace you have in front of you, and so forth. We have the garden-centric perspective with whatever technology we can fill the outdoor environment, not just for gardening. It could be security, lighting, pools, whatever you want to have in terms of smart technology in your garden. We need to remember that us living in a house, what we basically don't want is someone non-invited to come into our sort of castle. We have sort of a robotic mover out there today. We have a possibility for being a watchdog even. There are so many possibilities we could build going in the direction of smart living that is now building huge ground on a very important market for us, the US market. It's going to come to Sweden as well, but it has a little bit of language problems to fully emerge into the Swedish market. Then we have the tool, the product-centric, and this was actually the hardest one to take decision on because this was not service business-centric, this was very product-centric, and our task was to look for whatever services, new business models we could find. Here we had to place a tractor on the roof on one of our terraces in the city center of Stockholm and have management sit up on that tractor, drive it around a little bit, and then pretend to collect data, and then transfer that data into recommendations for what spare parts to buy and so forth. So now we have decision for 3 directions that we collect the organization around. We invite product managers, okay, which ones are you going to be compatible with? What sensors do you then need to speak to this specific service? When are you going to be done with your hardware parts so that the service can count on you being there, building sort of the infrastructure for your products? Those are the kind of solution planning activities that we run. So basically, another achievement that we have done is that we're going to go for a shared platform. And this is like, well, how hard can it be? But having 4 divisions, having their own profit and loss, they want to run in their own speed, in their own direction. So showing them how costly it is to build a backend helped us sort of get this prioritization and focus in place. So it's basically about connecting our products, having some protocol that we potentially also could sell to alien products that don't want to take the cost for building their own infrastructure and their own platform and so forth. Then it's about the interfaces, here and now and upcoming. Then it's about the 4 sort of commercial markets where we play: gardening, commercial lawn and gardening, forestry and construction. And then it's about sort of what sort of capabilities, features do they want to see around their platform to build business in their market. It's a lot about solution planning. This is the star sky that we're talking of in the organization. Basically, it's showing our organization that we need to detach products, hardware from software. Why should that be so hard? But you know, slow-moving hardware cycles will slow down the fast-moving software cycles if we don't do this. So basically what we want is for all hardware to speak data in a structured form. And then our backend in the center should be organized in the form that we can have business owners in the 3 segments of gardening, tool-centric and business-centric, picking from the products and the platform in a modular form, building optimized business for their customer. And how do you do that? Then we're back at design thinking. So we're inviting a lot of multidisciplinary teams to workshops where we have typical personas that we work with. This is Rupert. He's my favorite. He's a small guy, or a small-scale CLG guy in the US, having a few friends that he works with, a few employees, and a little bit of equipment. And then we have Richard, who has a medium-scale CLG business in Europe. They are totally different. Rupert is a lot into tractors, CTRs, basically wheeled products. And Richard on top there, he's a lot into handheld business. This is just sort of how the market is different in the US and Europe today. So what we need to do is basically, how can we find a service that these guys will want to have? What is it that will take them to buy the service, download it, find it? What features, capabilities do they want to find in the service? Initially and over time, which ones are most important for them to be there from start? Which ones can they wait a little bit for? And what happens when they sort of break a product, sell a product, and want to keep the service, or exchange the service, get all their data to feed into the worst-case steel system or whatever? We need to discuss all these things with our product managers, service managers, marketing, sales in multidisciplinary teams, and we need to list down solutions. Then we need to do the classical minimal viable product procedure. We need to look into sort of what technologies do we need, what services, what external capabilities need to be in place, infrastructure, what products are we talking of this year, what internal capabilities do we need to have, and which ones do we have? And then what is it the customer really want? When and how? In what ecosystem? In relation to who? What is the context? Pains and gains? And then, how can we make business? If we don't make business, we will not continue to support well solution products, not beneficial for any customer. So what is the target segment? What business model will we apply? Towards what competition? In what market? To what price? What is the revenue stream? Basically, we need to sort out that we fulfill enough of customer value with the technical opportunities we will have a certain year in time, and we need to make sure that we make business, that we don't take too much of cost and never see any money come in, because then we will not have any digitalization in the upcoming years in Husqvarna. We need to make sure that we have something of value each and every year. The customer will not be with us for 5 years waiting for something to grow into a system. It needs to be useful from start. At the same time, we have a lot of new customers that don't want to own products at all. They don't care for the ownership of hardware. They just want the effect of products. So the battery box was a explorative initiative that we did. We did only one box. It was only iPhone compatible, no Android app. And we did it for one market only for the last season. We had it in front of Bromma Blocks for the season that just passed. And why do we do this? Because we need to explore new business models. We need to learn to experiment, to not be all done and fine and premium when we head for customers. And we need to learn as much as we can. The battery box initiative was, to some extent, successful. To some extent, you can say it was a failure. We didn't make money the first year, of course, who sort of counted for that. But actually, we had a larger problem in that we basically placed it there as we are used to do when building a chainsaw. You know, when being done, we leave it and then we go away. What we should be doing in upcoming projects is that we need to continue to iterate. We need to gather as much knowledge as possible. This is not about validating an idea. This is about collecting as much knowledge as possible around a prototype like the battery box. So what we should have done is that we should have rewrapped it, we should have replaced it, we should have changed the product setup, we should have changed the price, we should have explored with opening hours, price level, whatever. You know, we should have continued to explore during the full season, because basically right now what we know is that pretty much everyone we talk to find it being a great idea. And every customer coming to the service left us fantastic notes on how wonderful it was. But still, most people didn't use the battery box. Most people didn't come to the battery box. And that as well among people that lived nearby and could have used the service. Why didn't they? What could have made them come to the battery box? We need to find out more. We cannot just place sort of a technical skeleton in front of customers. The battery box is a wicked problem. You know, does it really need to be a box even? How should the box look like? How many lockers? What shall the lockers, how shall they be positioned? You know, now they're the same size next to each other. Could they be modular in a different way? Products, accessories in the same locker or separate lockers. How many shall there be? How much should it cost? How long shall rental time be? What products? Equal number of products to equal number of lockers. That actually complicates stuff. If you have more products, you can have all lockers with chainsaws one day, but then you can't handle walk-up rentals. So there is a complexity in sort of what the offering should be like. Member rentals, anyone? Connected products? Where shall in such case the interpretation of data be shown and what should it say? Only our products, app, web, store, what should the interfaces be? What is competition doing? There is not one best answer. The battery box, even though you can say that we did a whole of it wrong, we did a lot great as well, we can use it as a great example internally for how we now need to work and what wickedness is, and the complexity and the number of possibilities we have in front of us and how we need to approach that space. So a single box opens up for a massive amount of choices. Very hard for an organization like ours to handle. But it helps us understand, so it's been a very good piece for us internally to see that we can achieve something like that in 6 months' time. We can place it there, we can be brave, we can do something novel, and we can learn from that. What we're now doing, this is very small text on this slide, I know that, is that we're setting up a virtual innovation lab because we need to continue to innovate ourselves. We can't sell with the prioritization for Vital 3. We need to continue to explore business models, proof of concepts outside our current divisional structure. So we need to bring in IoT competence and solution planning. We need to bring in our internal staff so they can educate themselves and be part of these projects. We need to work with academia and learn from what researchers do and test right now. We need to apply some of a startup mentality. We need to manage to work with startups that have way faster cycles than we as a corporate have. And we need to explore whatever partnership collaborations we could have. For the battery box, for example, Flex was building the box. Telenor helped us with cloud and connectivity to be able to run faster than our sort of plan for organization. HiQ built the app, the brain of the system. Sora gave us but they offered a payment platform we could use, even though we didn't have it ourselves at that time. So Virtual Innovation Lab is about setting together multidisciplinary teamwork in our organization, but also with injection from the external resources there are. It could be a proof of concept. It could be a complete external execution of something. It could be assistance with conceptualizing an idea, following design thinking methodology. It's basically about sort of digital and creative expertise in transformational times in an organization that really needs it. What Virtual Innovation Lab is doing, before I conclude, is also that we hand out these design fictions in our organization. It has been a great tool. You think that sort of traditional organizations take decision on numbers alone, and yes, we do. But pictures and visualizing the future and showing the context for our innovations, how it could look like, is really helpful for sort of keeping speed and energy in our organization. The first design fiction we completed after having produced all these idea cards and handing them out to the divisions, and they sort of said which one they wanted. We produced in beginning of 16, end of 15. And we were aiming as everyone for 2020. Now we've been studying the US market last year and have been producing a design fiction by the sort of end of last year, aiming for 1 year sooner, because this is speeding up on us. It's not being something where we can produce a design fiction aiming for 21, 22. Here we need to squeeze in, tighten up the organization and run even faster. So what I've been talking about a little bit, I haven't been mentioning any self-driving cars or anything. I've been talking about IoT as it applies for a traditional manufacturing company, Husqvarna Group. Some of the solution products we already have, and what we've been up to, and why we're working with design thinking, and why we talk of something like wickedness. Some of innovation and our organization around innovation. But if you don't remember anything else, I would like you to at least remember what wickedness sort of means for an organization like Husqvarna Group. That it's about early bets. There will be no standards, there will be no answers for us to wait for. We need to take some early bets and run here and now, given what we know today. And for that, we need to apply some of design thinking, which is about exploring among your ideas, sorting between them, narrowing them down, and do it fast. Otherwise, all the opportunities that we see will remain challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. A great and wicked presentation, I would say.
Yeah, thank you.
And really interesting challenges.
So I have an old classmate in the room. Yes.
Hi, Petra. Thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
You were talking about innovation across collaboration and the organization and the need for collaboration through many different silos. So what techniques? I saw that some other techniques from Agile, but what are some of the other techniques to get development, product management, and different organizations to talk and understand and innovate together? Husqvarna is such a big organization.
Yes, so seeing is believing. It works every time. So when we struggle, when we have a hard time getting the decisions we want to have, I've been told, you never give up, Petra. And no, I don't, I think. We build prototypes, we build demonstrators, and we put them where sort of management can't avoid them. So even though they don't like them, even though we don't always get a yes, we want them to try it out, to feel it, to explore the ideas we have. So seeing is believing is really something that has worked for us, because PowerPoints and talking, it's just very hard coming from so many different disciplines to know that we speak about the same things, even though we use the same words. So seeing is believing, touching and feeling something really helps you understand. But otherwise, it is the multidisciplinary team, close them in a room, go through your persona, drive them down the customer journey, be really detailed. The devil is in the details, and discuss the details. Could track and trace really be there for 2019? Do we actually have any products that can speak directly to cloud where track and trace really can be implemented? Why should the service team work on track and trace if we don't have any hardware products that can speak directly to cloud? And how should we charge for it? What is the business model? I could go on, but these are really, yes, the agile methods and seeing is believing is my answer, I would say.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a question. I didn't see any mentioning of AI in this slide, because it's talked about everywhere. I guess that's also a kind of interesting challenge for you to consider.
No blockchain either. And that's intentional, actually, because this is the multidisciplinary challenge we have. Yes, in our IT organization, where everything is about software, and where you're tuned on agile processes and agile ways of working, this is easy peasy. Just go with it. How hard could it be? You know, build VR prototypes, AR, blockchain, AI, whatever. But the thing is, what we have today is an automatic robot, lawn mower, that speaks data. That's it. Then we have the retrofit sensors and so forth. But basically, we have data from a robotic lawn mower for 3 years' time. Yes, I know you can run AI on very small amounts of data, but most important for us to stay in the industry right now is to get hold of more data. We need to get the data, and we need to make sure that customers, in order to inject sort of this in the organization, can make use of near-time data. Data coming from the products here and now, such as Mr. Asplund getting the day's data from the products. If we don't get the products to speak data, we will have an organization full of fantastic mechanical engineers fighting on the terms of software with Google. You know, we're not up for it. We need to make sure that we're playing sort of our unique selling point in this game, making use of real time and store data from the products. And that's our sort of sickest main aim right now, to get the data from the products. We need to find a way to sort of fatten up the products, take some cost on the products to make sure we get the data.